Gaat niet. Okay guys, we're checking if everything is running, so we're gonna wait a little bit for confirmation from YouTube, and as soon as I see the confirmation from YouTube, we're actually gonna start with another episode of Digital Classroom. And I already hear behind me that Facebook is running. I also see green on YouTube. Hello YouTube, hello Facebook, how are you guys? And of course you can leave comments in the boxes below, or of course on YouTube you can leave comments in the section in the chat room. Chat room, yes, you can use the chat room. It's like a meeting room for everybody that likes Digital Classroom, and that's all of you guys, right? Now, if you watch Digital Classroom in the recorded version, don't worry, you can still leave comments in YouTube, and I will answer them. I will try to answer everything personally. So it's not a bot, it's not Week, it's me. So we're gonna try to do that. Okay, so what are you gonna see today? You're gonna see Digital Classroom. So let's start our trailer so that you guys know actually what you're seeing. And because we changed everything around, I have to look for the trailer a little bit. There we go. It's called Bumper. And we're back, and I already see some guys on YouTube. I see a good buddy of mine from the UK, my brother from another mother and another father from over the sea, Mr. Glenn Dewis. He's not a European anymore soon, so up until now he can still see me, right Glenn? And very soon, by the way, Glenn and I are gonna do something really interesting, so watch out for that. It's gonna be in May, so we're gonna vlog about it, and it's gonna be interesting, it's gonna be cool. So today, what are we going to do today? Well, you know those little strobes? They're called Speedlights, and it's not because you run away very fast when you see them. It's actually those things that are probably in your closet and you go like, why did I ever buy them? What is a speedlight? Why? I just go with natural light because speedlights are way too complicated. Well, today we're going to end that whole story. We're going to look at speedlights and we're going to see what they can do and exactly what you can get out of them. And trust me, those speedlights are incredibly cool. Unless, of course, they're very hot and then you have to turn them down because they overheat. That doesn't make any sense, right? Well, it is important that I tell you that because a speedlight can actually overheat. And this is something that you have to be very aware of. When you shoot speedlights and you shoot them very fast and you shoot them very powerful, so on full power, they can overheat. And with some speedlights that can be a problem, like Nikon had a problem with it and they actually recalled the speedlights and you got new ones. Sony had a problem with it, they recalled it, new firmware, and now it works. So be aware of it, don't overheat your speedlights because you can actually do some serious damage on your speedlight. Okay, so today we have a model and her name is Sanne. And Sanne, of course, you all know because she runs all the Miss Beauty contests in the Netherlands, right Sanne? She's the big boss. She's not really big, but she's the big boss. And Sanne is one of our models we know already for a while, so it's going to be fun. And because she's wearing something red. And you know what it means when somebody wears red, like, I really get creative. Okay, first setup is going to be very, very simple. We're going to use a speedlight without any form of modification. I want to show you guys what you can do with the speedlight straight out of the box. Now, the first thing you have to realize is you have to get the speedlight off the camera. It doesn't make any sense to put it on the camera. That's for, I don't even know who would use it on camera. Why should you use a speedlight on camera? Well, because it has a hot shoe, Frank. I know, the hot shoe is actually for the trigger for the speedlight. Yeah, sometimes you can use it on camera, but then please don't aim it straight at a model, bounce it. Because if you bounce, you're actually using, for example, a ceiling or a sidewall to bounce the light, and you already have a different setup, or in other words, it's off-camera flash. But the best thing is to use a trigger on your camera and actually get the speedlight off. So we're gonna go to the set and we're gonna see what we can do. And again, in the meantime, feel free to ask any questions you want, even business or Twitter or Facebook or whatever. And by the way, we have a really cool new topic today. And the topic is photo critique. Add an echo here, critique, because this is going to be something new we're going to do in Digital Classroom. You guys asked for it, so we're going to do it. You can send in your images and I'm going to go through them and I'm going to tell you very, very harsh what I think about them. I'm not going to do it very harsh, but I'm going to be honest. In a nice way. Really honest. But really nice. Okay, so we're almost there. Let me just show you the setup that we do at the moment. So we're going to show you some camera standpoints. So we have this. This is a high cam. We have this one. And we're back to me. Ooh. Okay, so we're going to switch this over. So Anouk is now behind the camera. So Anouk can actually set everything up for me and do all the stuff. And I'm going to go into the set. Going to bring my camera with me. And we're going to start out with some ETTL magic. And I'm going to exactly tell you why ETTL sucks and isn't magic at all. Oops, that wasn't a nice expression. But it's the truth. Okay. Okay. Are you guys ready? Of course you are. Okay, so the first thing you have to know is on the camera is the Photix Odin 2. This is the Sony version. The reason I love this so much is because you now have a display on camera. Let me walk up to Brian so he can actually show you guys. So is this viewable, Anouk, on the camera? Awesome. And in the setup, you can do a lot of stuff. You can change between being ETTL or manual, and you can even zoom your strobes or use high-speed sync. Now, normally you have to dive into the menu of your camera, do all that stuff manually, and that can be very cumbersome. And especially in the past, I still remember those time of the TT5 from, was it the TT5? I think it was from Pocket Wizard, where you actually had one big giant thingy on top of your camera, and you had a radio trigger somewhere else, and it did ETTL over radio. That was awesome. The thing was, if you wanted to change something, you had to dive into the camera and change all the settings. Not anymore. You now have it nicely on a display. And trust me, if you have it on the display once, you never want to do it again. You never want it anywhere else. The other thing is we're going to use the Mitros Plus. And these are very, very cool. They're also from Photix. And the thing with the Mitros Plus is that in the Plus, there's a receiver inside. Now, normally what you have is you have a trigger on the camera. That's the commander unit, you can call it. And you have a receiver under your strobe. So that means if you put it on a stand, you will actually have a stand, the receiver, and on top, the strobe. And you know what can go wrong, right? You have an intern, of course not Daisy, because Daisy is perfect. Not Anouk, because my interns are always perfect. But let me put it this way. I borrow an intern for one day. You see me blinking? That's this eye, because Daisy is on this side, so you don't see it. Now, you have an intern for one day, and of course they put it on too tight, or they don't put it on at all, and your small strobe will fall off, and it's a mess. With the Mitros Plus, you actually have the receiver inside. So that means that it uses a little bit of extra battery, but that's maybe 2 pops on a whole battery charge. It's awesome, because now in your suitcase, you only bring the strobes. And we recently went to New York with Nadine, and you saw us using 2 of those strobes together, shooting it, and we didn't use any transmitters. And there were actually guys going like, hey, how do you control the strobes? And I was going like, yeah, with this one. Yeah, but where's the receiver? It's inside the strobe. So check them out, the Mitros Plus from Photix. And no, this was not a paid advertisement, of course, but on Friday, we're going to have the Photix tour in our studio. And of course, you can see that in our vlog behind the closed doors. Whew, let me breathe in between. There we go. Sanne, how are you?
Fine. Thank you.
She's fine. So, are you ready?
Yes, I'm
Can
ready.
you stand against the backdrop, please? Now, we chose for a very simple backdrop. It's just plain wallpaper. And it's on a movable wall. I'm not going to explain how the movable wall works. We have a video on KelbyOne where you can actually see how we created our whole studio. So how our walls work, how the movable walls are created, not wars, of course. And you have a lot more stuff. And we're going to show you that later in a video very quickly. Okay, Sanne is ready. Now, the first things, of course, is I have to make sure that I get my proper lighting on my model. Now, of course, you can buy big softboxes, you can buy flash benders, which you actually should. And, well, at first, you have to experiment. So let's just experiment with what the strobe can do without any form of modification. And I already tell you, it's not going to be the best image quality, but it's going to be pretty cool. So, Sanne, are you afraid of light?
No.
Okay, that's great for a model. Okay, so let's take this one out. There we go. And we're going to put this one here. Now, the first thing, of course, what you do is put your light under a 45-degree angle, because that's what taught you in every book, right? Put it under a 45-degree angle. Well, there we go. Okay. Let's make sure that this is a little bit lower. There we go. And a little bit more up. Okay. The first thing you now have to know is, of course, how to set up your strobe. So we're going to put it on. Turn it on. It boots up. It's on ETTL mode and it's in group A. Now group A is important because on your receiver, or sorry, on your transmitter, you have group A, B and C and sometimes also group D. So I have to make sure that I'm on group A. So there we go. Group A. And it's now on ETTL. Let's see if that works. So let's see how it works on a 45-degree angle on my model. I didn't do anything else yet. And there we go. And this is the beautiful ETTL strobe quality. Yeah. I follow all the rules. 45-degree angle, aimed straight at my model using ETTL. And in this case, by the way, do you see that ETTL works? We've did this before on a black background and it didn't work. And I did it once on a very light background and it didn't work. As long as you keep the tones in your set about, let's say 18% gray, sounds familiar? Then everything works. It's never perfect, but it comes pretty close because it's a reflective metering in your camera, and it means it will try to get everything in the scene up to 18% gray. Okay, but let's talk about the image. It looks like, I don't know how to call it. I have a beautiful model, I have a great background, and I have this crappy image. So I want to do something else. I want to make it a little bit more interesting. So the first thing I always teach my attendees of the workshop, move the light. Because if you move the light, you can create contrast. If this is you, and you place your light like this, you have flat lighting, that's hardly any contrast. The more you create an angle, the more contrast you're going to get, but also the more three-dimensionality in the picture. You know three-dimensionality? It's not that fake stuff you see in movie theaters where you go like, ooh, I'm three-dimensional. It's not that stuff. No, it's the stuff where you actually can see depth in an image. So, let's try that. And first I have to do something very fast, and I'm very sorry for that, but I just saw that I forgot to turn something off on the computer. And I don't want to mess that up. So very quickly, I'm going to make sure that I close my mail program, otherwise you see all the updates in the screen. Okay. So we're going to change the strobe, and the strobe we're going to change more to the side. This is also, by the way, why I always advise people get a boom arm. Now, what is a boom arm? It's something that isn't straight up, but you can actually angle it. And also make sure when you set it up nice and sturdy. There we go. Okay, let's change that contrast a little bit. Okay, can you stand a little bit against the wall? Don't move against the wall. There we go. Okay, ETTL, I don't have to change anything, right? Okay, let's first shoot it from here. Sanne, can you look a little bit that way? That's nice. Okay. Now, as you can see, ETTL is already getting it a little bit more difficult. You see this on her face? That's not so nice. Anouk, are you in picture now? Yes. Okay. So on her face, that's not so nice. It's a little bit blown out. But don't worry. We always have exposure compensation. So go to A. Go to maybe minus 1.5. Okay, can you look at me? Nice. Now, this is way better. But it doesn't make you look like a professional, right? It makes you look like somebody who doesn't know what he's doing and just trying something. But that's no trouble at this point. But I would really advise you guys, and we're going to do that in a later setup, to switch to manual mode and just meter everything. And it's fast, trust me. And it won't bite. Okay, so this is relatively flat. Let's add that contrast. A little bit down. Really nice. That's cool. And let's add a lot of contrast more. So let's stand here, look down a little bit. Really nice. Cool. There's only one thing. I don't know if I'm capturing strobe at the moment. It's pretty bright, right? I think we also have a lot of ambient light in there. How can you check that? Very simple. And this is a very simple trick, and you should do this all the time. Power off your strobe, or in this case the receiver, and take a shot without any strobes. There we go. The first thing you will see is that at the moment I'm actually capturing natural light. Yep. So let's cut that out. I'm now going to go to full manual because I was actually shooting on aperture priority. And aperture priority means that it will meter the ambient light and use the strobe to fill that in. In my case, I don't want to fill it in. I want to have 100% strobe power. So I want 100% on my model and no ambient light. And that's a very simple trick. The shutter speed controls the ambient light. The aperture controls the strobe. So if you want to make sure that there's no ambient light, you can of course use a light meter or use this simple trick. I'm now on manual. Let's go to a 200th of a second, f8 ISO 200, why not? And let's see if there's any picture now. And if I'm correct, you now will see a black picture. There we go. I now know for sure that if I now turn on my strobes, let's be a little bit adventurous and put ETTL back on 0. And I'm going to do the same thing again. Okay, look that way, please. That's really nice. Awesome. Okay, now you see a totally different shot from before. Now you can see that high contrast. Now you can actually see that we're using strobes. And before, it was just more like a fill-in flash. And in the studio, of course, we don't want fill-in flash, unless, of course, you want it. That's a different story. Okay, another thing that I really like about these Sony cameras and all new cameras is the flip-up screen. Because now I can look like an amateur. Shoot from a lower angle. And now you get that really nice high contrast shot. And this is just because I changed my angle. So now we have this. Okay, this is interesting. You like it?
Yeah.
High five. Awesome. This is cool. Now let's play a little bit more with this. So look a little bit more towards the light. I'm not going to make you do any motion this time, because we already did that a few times. This I really like, because there was a little bit too less light on her face. There we go. That's awesome. Okay. But there's something else I want to show you guys. And this is one of the best tricks ever. With ETTL, I can just pick up my strobe, move it, and I don't have to remeter. When you do manual, you have to remeter constantly. You have to make sure that the light is constantly on your model, and you have to meter that light. So, yeah, that can be a little bit troublesome. For example, like we did in New York with Nadine, we walked around a lot, and Anouk was actually holding the strobes, moving closer, moving further away, moving more to the side. It's a big mess when you do that with a light meter. So that's when you actually use ETTL. And ETTL works great if you know how it works, because then you can counteract that effect. Okay, so no modification on the strobe, and it looks pretty nice. Can you do more? And this is a hidden trick that a lot of people don't realize they have. Let me put it this way. Let me see what we can do. Let's go here. I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do. You already hear it probably. Okay, shot one. Now you can see that we almost light the whole background. So is this nice? It's pretty cool. I don't like the angle, by the way. Let's do a little bit of a lower angle for her. I think that's more her. That's nice. And it makes the model look way taller than she actually is. Here she looks a little bit smaller. Here she looks way taller. And this is what models actually love. They love to be high and mighty. Of course. Like Sanne?
Yes.
Yes, you love to be high and mighty. Okay, now let's change one thing. I'm going to use zoom. And I'm now going to go from 24mm to 105. And let's see the difference. Nice. There we go. Now, the previous image was okay, but if you look at this image, I hope you agree that this is way more interesting. Now, with a small strobe, without any form of modification, without anything on the strobe, so you don't have to buy anything, you get this. And you get everything in between. Now, this is more like an, how do you call that? More like a vignetting or more like a spotlight effect. And I think this is way more interesting. And now you can actually see that I'm almost shooting on camera. Do you see that? So my camera is here, the strobe is there, it's almost on camera. So now when I'm going to use that trick of creating contrast, I can even make it more interesting. So let's move it over here. And this is what we call a problem. I always remember Donald Duck painting the floor and then ending up in a corner. That was something like that. Okay, let's do this. Okay. I have to make sure that the angle is about equal to my model. Okay, let's do a lower angle on you. Ooh, really like this. And now you see how ETTL messes up. And this is one of the reasons why I never advise you to use ETTL in a situation where you have to do constant. Like the first image was way overblown, the second image is okay, and there's just a slight difference in how I move. So, yeah. And of course you might say, oh, that's Sony. No, that happens on Canon, that happens on Nikon, that happens on all cameras. Especially when you start using a lot of dark areas in the shot and a lot of whites. Again, because the camera wants to see 18% gray. And there is no 18% gray in this scene. Well, there is, but not a lot. Okay, so let's change this a little bit less contrasting. There we go. Slightly lower angle on Sanne. This is way better. Now change the ETTL to, let's say, minus 1/3 of a stop. So I'm going down a little bit. And there we go. Now the cool thing is, because we have those digital Polaroids, which are actually the screens, you can now actually change the outcome of your light. So in this case I have it on 105mm straight on my model, which actually means that I have a really small narrow beam of light. So let's change that. Go to zoom and go all the way down to 24, because the strobe is pretty close to my model. Okay. And this is way more better. Really like this. Nice. You can pose. Nice. Okay. So if you think this is still too dark, you can move your strobe a little bit further away and you're done. But you can see that between exposures, the exposure on my strobe also changes. That's what I don't like about ETTL. So let's, for example, just go very quickly to manual mode. So we're going to switch over to 0. The zoom is okay, and we're going to switch over to mode manual. Now, of course, you can just go like it. Go like, okay, let's try this. And let's do a shot on 1/8 of a power. There we go. Does that look nice? Let me see. No, that's way too much. Let's go to, but you know what I mean, like you look like an unprofessional photographer. You don't want this. You want to make sure that you hit that right away. So, Daisy, can I get a light meter from you? Or Brian? Let's go to 1/32 of a second. Okay, thank you so very much. Okay, so this is a light meter. And of course you guys know what a light meter is, right? Which one of you guys uses a light meter? Let me see hands. Pretty much everybody. Now, if you don't use a light meter and you're that one guy or girl over there who didn't raise his hand, don't you feel unprofessional now? Because all the other guys watching uses a light meter except you. So get one. You can get one online. They're relatively cheap on eBay. Because I will tell you a secret, nobody uses light meters. They sell them online very cheap because they buy them. They don't know how it works. And they sell them again. And that's where you can buy it very cheap because you know how to use it. I hope. Okay, so let's change this to normal strobe setting. There we go. I'm on ISO 100, 125th of a second. Now the only thing I have to do, and this is something with the photic strobe, they always give a little bit of a pre-flash. And then they actually go off. So I have to do a test. And there we go. And then meter. And I was a little bit too late. There we go. 5.62. Let's say 5.6. Okay. And if you want to make it sure that it's 5.6, There we go. Now it's 5.6. Okay, so ISO 100. .6, and now of course I hope that everything works. Otherwise, great advertising for the light meter, Frank. There we go. Whew, it works. And the cool thing is you don't look like an unprofessional noob. NOOB or N00B, you know what I mean, right? Somebody who doesn't know what he's doing. You don't have to figure it out on the go. You can just use that light meter and it always works. Okay, can you turn around a little bit? And then look over your shoulder. Very nice. And then eyes a little bit more towards me. Ooh, that's awesome. I love this. Chin down. Nice. Okay, do some little poses. Cool. Oh, sometimes. Oh, I had to wait for the strobe. You have to wait for the beep, Frank. Really nice. That's cool. Can you do one where you turn around very violently? I do want to have that motion in. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay. One more. 1, 2, 3, go. Awesome. Okay, so let's see what we can do with these in Photoshop very quickly. And I'm going to give you some more tips. And after that, we're going to use modifiers. And that's when it gets really interesting, because we're going to also do something with color. So let's go to the computer and let's see what we can do. Okay, so Anneweek has to make room. Are there any questions, Anneweek, on Facebook or YouTube? No. No questions. Interesting. Okay. Okay, first things first. I talked about that light meter, right? And if you watch my programs more, you know that I'm a big advocate for the light meter. And the thing is, that thing is really important because it's just a tool. It's not something that will hunt you or bite you at night and take away your creativity. It's, how can I explain it simple? If you use a light meter, it's the same as using a ruler if you're a carpenter, or just knowing what you're doing, and it's a tool. So if somebody tells you you don't need it, just tell them like, okay, but it's a tool, I have to meter my lighting because lighting is what I do with my photography. And we actually made a pretty cool video about it, and I want to show you that now. And again, we have to show these videos in between because I have to set everything up for you guys, and I need a little bit of a breather in between because it's a 2-hour show, and thanks to the commercial breaks, I can actually take a breather. So let me show you what we did for the light meter. And I think you're gonna love that. Hey guys, my name is Frank Doorhof and I'm the author of the book Mastering the Model Shoot. Now, you guys really like the book because we're getting a lot of rave reviews on Amazon and every other online store. So that actually triggered us to make a video series about the book. Now, in the first video, I will tell you everything about the light meter. Now, in digital photography, I think the light meter is the one thing that confuses people a lot. Shouldn't I use the histogram, Frank? Isn't there a meter inside the camera? Where do I point the meter? Towards the pretty girl? Towards the camera? Towards the light source? Where? There's a lot of confusion out there. Now, in this video, I will give you in more than 70 minutes all the insights out about the light meter. Calibrating, using incident and reflective, using a white background, how to keep details in the black, how to trigger the meter, where to point the meter. You will see everything very easily explained, but you will also see photo shoots including our model Manon. This is one of the videos if you're slightly interested in the light meter, or if you already have a light meter and you want to know everything about it, get this video. It's called Mastering the Model Shoot, the light meter, and it's the first video in a whole series that we're going to release in connection to our book Mastering the Model Shoot, and it's available now from our website.
all want to make better images, but learning photography, Photoshop, and Lightroom is hard when you're searching through a haystack of videos, many of which are packed with misinformation or just plain wrong. You need someone you can trust to show you the tools and techniques you need so you can spend less time digging and more time learning. That's why we created KelbyOne. It's a smarter, faster, easier way to learn online. Best of all, you can try it for free. We're an online training community led by renowned photography and Photoshop educator Scott Kelby. He put together a team of the most talented, passionate, and engaging teachers on the planet to help you create the type of images you've always dreamed of. Our private members-only library of over 10,000 video lessons covers just about anything you want to know. And you can learn anytime, anywhere, 24/7 on your computer or mobile device. Getting started is easy. Always wanted to learn wedding photography? Just type wedding into the search bar. Need a quick tip on removing spots from an image in Lightroom? Search our quick tips videos for a complete lesson in less than 5 minutes. And we get that learning is a two-way street. If you have a question about anything, our one-on-one advice desk is just a click away. Our video classes are broken down into short lessons, each tackling a single point at a time. You'll be learning on location with the instructor in high definition. Basically, we built a learning environment that we want to use ourselves. And we do. We watch and learn from our own classes, and so do our friends and family. We've got dozens of discounts with big name companies, and members tell us all the time that they save more on the discounts than they spend on the annual membership. You'll even get an award-winning magazine chock full of Photoshop tips. Put us to the test for the next 10 days with a free trial. Sign up and you'll be learning in just 5 minutes. Let's see what happens when you add a little fuel to your creativity. Come be a part of the best online training community in the world at KelbyOne.com.
Oops. That wasn't exactly planned, but you know what? If you add new videos, sometimes things can go wrong. Now, if you are not a member yet of KelbyOne, make sure to check it out because they have some amazing stuff online. And the app on the iPad is great. You can now download stuff so you can watch it on the plane. It's great if you want inspiration. Okay, so we have some questions in. We're going to do them first, and then we're going to go to the retouching part. So let me go, and I'm sorry I have to look the other way because we actually have a monitor over there where all the questions are on. So I'm first going to do the YouTube questions. Let me see. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Okay, yes, Tim, we're going to do some cool stuff. Okay, Frank, do you think a small strobe is fast enough for freezing small stuff like baking flour? Yes, it is. It's actually when you don't use them on full power, they're pretty fast. They're faster than studio strobes. If you put them on full power, not really. But I would say just use 2 or 3 or maybe 4 combined together on a lower setting and you will freeze whatever you want, especially when you do it close by. So yes, without a doubt, they're faster than studio lighting, except when you put them on full power. So go, freeze some motion. Let me see, what flash trigger are you using? It's the Odin 2 for Sony, and they also have one for for Canon and Nikon. Why my Sony RAW files looked washed out in Capture? Why do my Sony RAW files looked washed out in Capture One? I don't have a clue. Mine look great. The thing might be that you have the wrong color space selected. So I'm going to show you in a minute where everything is set up for me. Yay for the light meter, did a quick set of shots for eBay without one and then had to redo them next day even though they were shot in RAW. If you ain't got one to use flash, definitely buy one. That's the thing. If you do stuff, for example, for a company and you have to repeat that the same way, the same thing, the same lighting, the same exposure, you're crazy if you don't use a light meter because for the very simple reason, you will have a difference in quality. Same thing with the color checker. You didn't see me shooting one now. I'm going to explain later on why. But always use a color checker, always use a light meter because those two make sure that everything is in continuity. Okay, another question very quickly is gels and TTL. Can you do this? Is the light output not too low? You can use gels and TTL, that's no problem at all. It meters through the lens, so if there's a gel in front that will actually take away light, it will actually put light. So normally it will be on 1/8 of a power, and then it will probably be on 1/4 or maybe even half power. So yes, ETTL and strobes and gels work great together. I know you give all sorts of workshops, but for a beginner like me with studio lighting, is there a workshop for it too? That's the cool thing. That's really something I'm very, very proud of, and I think that makes my workshop unique. We always start with a Q&A. In the Q&A, you can ask whatever you want. And during the workshop, all the questions will be combined in that workshop. So I never know what I'm going to do. So I wake up in the morning, get my breakfast, do the vlog for you guys, go to the studio, and then I meet up with the group. And at that point, I will know what I'm going to do in the workshop after the Q&A. For the very simple reason, I want to give you guys an experience that's like a one-on-one workshop tailor-made for you. For nobody else, just for you. And by doing that via the Q&A, we can actually just work that all into the workshop. And that's unique. There's no workshop like, okay, we're going to do this first, we're going to do that. Yeah, I know you know it, but bear with me. No, everything is custom made. And that's also why I use smaller groups. So our workshops are maximum 5-6 people. In the studio in Emmeloord on location, we do more. But in the studio in Emmeloord, it's 5-6 people because then I can really tailor-made that whole workshop for you guys. Let me see. Yes and there, great. Thank you, Chardo. Okay, more on YouTube questions. How do you photograph sunglasses with colors in it to preserve the colors when using flash? It went black on my shoot. Okay, this is more difficult. You have something called the angle of reflection is the angle of... In Dutch, hoek van inval is hoek van uitval. Angle of reflection is angle of... You know what I mean, right? So if you shoot something under an angle like this, and you go there, if you shoot it from here, you will see that strobe for the very simple reason you're in the angle of the strobe and not in the reflection. The moment that you master this, you can actually shoot sunglasses without any form of strobes in there, but they will turn black. Now, how do you get that color back? This is a little bit more tricky. What you have to do is light it from the sides. So make sure that your model gets nice rim lighting, and that rim lighting also goes through the sunglasses, because at that point, you can see the color of the sunglasses. We did some shots for opticians, people that sell glasses. Okay, let me see. Do you use the Nick collections? Greeting from the beautiful island of Somao. Oh my, that's far away. Thank you so very much for watching, Mr. from Somao. Hey, yes, we do use the Nick collection at the moment, and that's not by choice, because the Nick collection isn't supported anymore. They say it's supported, but it isn't. And it's old technology, and it isn't updated anymore. So, hey, it's free. What? And I'm Dutch, so that should be a great combination. But somehow, with the Nick collection, it's a shame, you know. It was the best collection ever. And they just destroyed it when Google bought it, only for Snapseed. And that's a shame. So, yes, I use the Nick collection, but for one reason only, and that's tonal contrast. I use Topaz, clarity, and detail for a similar effect, and Topaz is great in that, but Nick tonal contrast just gives me a little bit of a different look. What I'm waiting for is actually the PC version from MacFun. Maybe they will change the name to PC Fun at that point, because I'm having fun with my PC, in all honesty. And I'm just waiting for that version. And I know there will be Luminaire will be coming out on PC very, very soon. I'm on top of the list for a beta. So as soon as I have the beta, I will let you guys know if I'm not under NDA. So I don't have it yet. And if I'm under an NDA, I will tell you that I don't have it yet. But in all honesty, I really don't have it yet. Do you believe that? It's true. I don't have it yet. I promise you. And anyway, as soon as that is released, then we're going to have MacFun Intensify. And we have all the cool other stuff from MacFun on PC. So that's something I'm really, really waiting for. Okay, final question, and then we're going to go into the retouching. I know you are a fan of shadows on the background. What would you tell me if I want to eliminate all those shadows on the background? Are you nuts? Why? No, I'm just kidding. If you want to eliminate all shadows on the background, there's a very simple trick again. Angle of light is where the shadows fall. So if you have your model over here and you put her against the backdrop, and you have your light over here, your shadow will be here on the backdrop. So if you're shooting from here, you will actually see the shadow. Makes sense, right? Now, if you move your model away from the background, put your light a little bit higher, the shadow will actually be there. So if you're shooting up, no shadow on the background. But why? Shadows are cool. I know why you don't want any shadows on the background. I'm just kidding with you. But in all honesty, it's all about the angles of light. So as soon as you master the angles, and this is, by the way, one of the coolest tricks I can show you guys to really learn how to do lighting. It's with your iPhone or any other phone, by the way. Just turn on your lighting, and freaky cool, right? And now you can actually already see what lens flare is doing. So I can already get some really cool effects in, and trust me, this is not done by, I'm a magician. You know what you can do? You see with the blue, and now I can already see what my lens is doing. So if I want to make some really cool shots, I could, for example, do this. And this is very difficult because I see everything mirrored. There we go. And this is how to control your lens flare. You see it turning around and twisting. So this is the first thing you have to learn. What is lens flare? How does it work? Because it's pretty cool to use in your shots. Okay, the second thing you have to learn is what is backlighting. For example, what happens when I do this or when I feather it away. So now I can still see the lens flare. Now I blow out the side of my face. Move the light further away. Same problem. Feather it away. Hey, I can't feather it anymore, but when I move it closer, now I can actually feather it again. So this is how you start to understand lighting. The other thing is put your hand down and just put something behind it and start lighting your hand from here and just go up and down. And now I can actually see on my desk, I can see the whole shadows move. This is the best, this is the simplest way. You don't need to go to workshops for this. Of course, go to a workshop because that's how I make my money. But you don't have to go to a workshop for proper understanding of lighting. As soon as you buy a book that starts out with, this is how lighting works, in my opinion, that's a great book. As soon as you buy a book that starts out with, this is how to set it up, not so nice a book. For the very simple reason you can never recreate that. You have to understand what's going on, and then you will see the light. You will very simply start reading that light. Okay. Another question is, Frank, can you explain how you get your PC to look like a Mac with a dock? Isn't that cool? Isn't that awesome? A lot of people have asked me actually, Frank, did you go back to the Mac because it looks like a Mac? Yeah. Cool. Do you guys want me to do a video on that? Let me put it that way. I can make a vlog about how I transitioned from the Mac to the PC. I will show you which software I'm running, how to create that dock, and some other cool stuff. Is that maybe an idea? Just let me know in the comments below, and who knows, maybe I will make a video about that. I probably will. Anyway, you have a question on Facebook? Yeah. Okay, Nick, is great to create your own filters. Yes, but wait until you work with Luminar. It will blow your mind. It will blow it more than a Samsung sorry, I don't make any Samsung jokes anymore. No exploding phones. Let me see. How do you accentuate the smoke in post-production when you're using it? Oh, that's a cool one. So how do you accentuate smoke in post-production? Very simple. Use tonal contrast, topaz detail, or topaz clarity. And I'm going to show you very quickly where you can... no, I'm not going to show you. On my website, there's a page called Discounts. You go to the discount page and you get all these nice, cool discount codes for topaz and for all the other stuff that I do. Now, if you want to have presets, we have a special page for that. I'm going to show you very quickly. That's over here. And then you can use the looks that I use, for example, in alien skin exposure, DxO, etc. I have to talk slower. I watch way too much of Juliana Cost. She talks fast, but she's so good. So I have to slow down. Okay, another question. Frank, I've been learning from you for years. Thank you so very much. Any plans on coming to Denver? Denver? Deventer or Denver? I would love to come to Denver. Let me put it this way. If you're watching this and you think, man, I want to have Frank over, we're willing to do whatever you guys want. But don't ask me stuff like, okay, can you come to Australia? No, it's way too far. Although, the thing is, and it's very simple, I love to teach. I love to visit you guys. I love to visit different countries. The thing is, we have to have people on the ground arranging it for us. I can't just go there, okay, let's go to Denver, Colorado, or Denver, whatever, and let's just do a workshop there. Because that will never work and it will cost me a lot of money. So what we have to do is make sure that you have a venue, you know the models, and you get us there. And then we have to have the students. And we're going to help you with that. That's no problem at all. But we have to have somebody on location that can actually arrange it. Now, as soon as our plane tickets are arranged and our stay is arranged, that's when we start to do everything. And just email me about it, because we love to visit you guys. And of course, teaching, best thing ever, especially on beautiful locations. Okay, so first, I get a question from somebody, Damien van der Meulen. Who is this? It's me, Mario. No, of course not. Dude, look at the name of the channel and you know who I am. This is something I don't know if you guys noticed this, and if you do, leave comments below, especially on Google Plus and YouTube lately, and they're both from Google. I get a lot of weird responses, like just letters that don't make any sense, or hi, or hey, I love you. I like that, of course, but it's weird. It's the weirdest spam ever. Now, I understood when there was spam about pills or whatever, loans, but nowadays the spam doesn't make any sense at all. So please, Google, take care of that, because it's annoying as heck. Okay, let's go to my desktop. And let me see where my desktop is. That's the picture-in-picture. I have to go to my complete desktop. Okay. There we go. You have exactly 20,000 followers on YouTube. Congratulations. No, we actually have 20,517 at the moment. So we're growing. And that's cool. Thanks to you guys. Thank you so very much for that. Okay, we started out on AV mode. And the first thing you see is that we're actually getting in ambient lighting. And that's, of course, a problem, because I don't want ambient lighting in my shots. Okay, I see that my desktop is slightly lagging, so I'm going to go a little bit slower. This is something that actually somebody already pointed out to me. So I'm going to go a little bit slower. Let me see how much delay there is. So I click, and it takes about, okay, 2-3 seconds. Okay, I like the backdrop here. It's nice and dark, but the problem is you can still see that there's a lot of non-light here. In other words, it's ambient light, and it isn't that nice. Okay, here the same thing. This was without any strobe. Do you see the difference? This is with fill-in flash. And this is without strobes. Now you can actually see that with fill-in flash, the camera will actually choose a shutter speed that's appropriate. So that's 1/60th of a second. Now, if I use AV mode, it will actually go to 1/10th of a second. And that's, of course, something that I don't really like, because 1/10th of a second, and you can already see that in the shot, it's not really sharp. So, no, we don't want that, of course. Okay, this one, yeah, a little bit too depressing. So let's take that one out. Okay, it's lagging more, so bear with me, guys. I'm gonna very quickly try something. One moment. I'm gonna do pause and resume. Okay, it keeps lagging. Okay, for the next time we're gonna try to connect my desktop straight on with an HDMI cable to see if that's faster. We're now using Desktop Presenter, and it's indeed a little bit slower, although now it picks up in speed, clicking, and no, it's slow again. Okay, this is really frustrating, but bear with me. Okay, here is where we actually started doing our strobing. And now you can see that there's no ambient light anymore. And especially when you work under an angle like this, you will actually see that you get way more contrast in the shot. Let me see, there is the shot. So now you can see that you have way more contrast. Now, of course, you have to make sure that your model turns her face into the light. And that's actually what we did here. So now when she looks into the light, it looks way, way nicer and a little bit more focus on the eyes. So at that point, you can actually see what you're doing and the model's face is nicely lit. This was with the 24mm, so this was zoomed out all the way for the strobe. And this too, lower angle. And now you can actually see the shot. There we go. And this was on 105, and that's the maximum zoom on my strobe. And now you can actually see, there comes the picture. Now you can actually see that there's a nice vignetting around my model. And this is what I really like. It's more like that spotlight effect. And the problem is with ETTL, what you can see here is that it's overblowing the shot a lot. And then as soon as I take the next shot, you see that it's okay. And with the next shot, it will be overblown again. Let me wait until that shot appears. Okay, there we go. So this is something that's a real problem. Okay, I'm going to go very quickly through the shots, and I'm going to select some that I'm going to retouch in Photoshop very quickly. I'm going to take the one where she looks up. So now my desktop will be lagging, guys. Take notice of that. So I'm going to go a little bit faster because I don't want to slow this process down. Okay, I think some of the final shots were pretty cool. I love this one. Really nice curves, and I don't mean that in a bad way. You're gonna see the picture in a second and you know exactly what I'm meaning. But I really love the curves over here with the face, the breast area, and over here. But it's repeated over here. And this is what I call perfect S-curves. Really, really cool. Now I have to determine between the two. I like the first one better. Okay, let's just keep it at 2. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to show you what I do for my Sony files so they don't appear washed out. As ICC profiling, I always choose default in KelbyOne. Okay, so you see that now. Oh, this is really annoying. Orientation, default, metadata, and all other just copy from last because I want to make one setup and that's it. And in the camera, in the settings, everything is actually leveled out. So I don't know why your images looked washed out, but it has to have something to do with the settings. So please check those settings and make sure that you have them all set up the way that I have here. And actually, as you can see here, there's nothing really weird going on. It's very simple. It's just on default. And my images don't look washed out. So I don't know what's going on with you, but I don't think it's something that is the fault of KelbyOne. Okay, so these two I'm going to retouch very quickly. Now, because I'm using small strobes and I do like it a little bit more opened up here, I'm going to do something that normally with studio strobes I would never do because I would open up the shadows myself with lighting. I'm going to add a little bit of shadow detail. Don't overdo it like all the way. Don't crank it all the way up because that's actually pretty terrible. Just start at 0 and slowly build it up until you see what you like. I really like this. Okay, same here with this shot. 1 second and it will appear. There we go. Open up the shadows just a little bit. Cool. And now I have to get into Photoshop. And this is where KelbyOne shines, in my opinion, compared to Lightroom. And I love Adobe, don't get me wrong. But in KelbyOne, I can actually use 3 different recipes at the same time. And my logo is now actually in front of it. So let me remove my logo very quickly. There we go. Because you know who I am. And now I have framed to Photoshop. Now what I do is I use TIFF 16 bits, uncompressed Adobe RGB. And I immediately open it up with Photoshop. Now make sure you have your output folders correctly. So go to your destination, in my case bewerken KelbyOne or retouch KelbyOne, and make sure that you have your images over there. So let's start with this image very quickly. So I'm going to open this up in Photoshop. And again, sorry that my audio is lagging behind. This is something we will have fixed next time with Digital Classroom, so don't worry, don't put anything down below, because I will fix this, don't worry. Okay, we have another question in between. Do you have only one light modifier in the field? What would it be? Without any doubt, a Frank Doorhof flash bender. Will you give a tutorial on Luminar? If you guys want to, yes. What's all the point about beauty dishes with grids? Does the grid really is that important? Oh, for that one we're gonna switch over to my camera. This is a really cool question. Okay, is it really important to have a grid? Is it really important to eat? Is it really important to drink? Yes, of course. Can you survive without drinks? Yes. Can you survive without food? Yes. For a certain amount of time. Now, don't get me wrong. A beauty disc is awesome. A beauty disc gives you a really, really nice quality of light. The thing is, and this is something that I found with all light sources, if you want to pinpoint your model, if you really want to aim that light at that model, make sure that the model gets all the attention, what do you get? The problem is, you will get a little bit of, no, light spill. Let's call it light spill. Or you have to place that light really close. Thanks to a grid, what you can actually do is just aim that light straight on your model. So in other words, instead of this spread, you will get this spread. So yes, a beauty disc with a grid is without a doubt a highly, highly recommended modifier. And they're not that expensive. So get a beauty disc, get a grid, and then you can have that beautiful aimed lighting. Now, if you are the kind of person that goes like, but I don't want that aimed lighting. I want my light as bright as possible and as wide as possible. There is no right or wrong. It's art. It's your opinion. I can tell you that a banana milkshake is the best if you like strawberry more. I like them both, but okay. And I can't tell you if a blonde woman is better than a redhead. Okay, wrong example. Anna Week is not here, right? No. Anyway, so I can't tell you that. It's all personal taste. So a beauty disc with a grid, for me, it's a no-brainer. It's something that I always use. It's something that I really need. On the other end, if they don't have a beauty disc with a grid, I can do a whole workshop without a grid. Now, one tip on the beauty disc, and this is again my own personal opinion. Don't get the big ones. Get the smaller ones, the 44 centimeters, preferable silver. And again, this is my personal taste. I like that crispiness in the image. The big white ones, not really my thing. But again, if you like it, all the power to you. Use it. As long as you create stunning work, it doesn't matter how you do it. They're just tools. Okay, let's go back here. Okay, so my model. Okay, let me first drag the navigator off. There we go. You guys don't see what I'm doing now, but don't worry. We're trained professionals. Okay, so my model. The first thing I do is I will actually zoom in to 100%, and I will check very quickly if there are any irregularities in her skin. Now in this case, because I use very, very harsh lighting, there will be no need for a filter, and I'm always gonna make sure that when I do the irregularities, that I will actually use the healing brush. Now, normally the healing brush is actually round, and what I always do is I will actually make it into an oval. So you can simply go to the settings of your healing brush, and then as you can see, normally it's round in your settings, and you can just turn it into an oval. And that makes it a little bit less obvious that you retouch. Now just sample very close to what you want gone and just do the retouching. Again, I know my desktop is lagging behind. No need to put it in the comments. This is something we are gonna fix for you guys next time, because we already know what the problem is probably. Okay, cool. This hair, yeah. Don't mind it that much. I actually like it. It's a little bit rough. Now, what I always do is in the black areas, and you can actually see that there's a lot of hairs. And in the black areas, I don't like it that much if they really show up. So those hairs I will actually take out. Except for the big ones. And I will always tell people that I do that on purpose because I like them. But in all honesty, it's just too much work. So, but just tell your client it's your personal taste. I'm just kidding, of course. You can very easily and that's because we're using an oval. You can really easily just take them out, as you can see here. There we go. Great. And leave a little bit in. I don't want it to be a black mess. Like this. Just take them out. In all honesty, I really like the shot as it is. I do like to have a little bit of a lens flare coming in from the right side. Okay, I thought I turned off my mail. Okay, and that's something what I'm going to do with a really cool filter from Alien Skin Exposure. Now, normally I'm not the kind of guy that will add lens flares or whatever to their shots, but sometimes it can be really, really interesting to have a little bit more of an atmosphere. Now, all these settings you can actually find in my preset packs for Alien Skin Exposure. I'm going to give you that link right now. There we go. So if you go here, you can actually get those presets. And those are exactly the presets I'm using. So it's not like a light version or whatever. I don't believe in those. I give you all the stuff that I really use. Because I believe that as a photographer, you have to do your own stuff. So if I give you exactly the stuff that I use, well, you're going to change it anyway. But it's a good starting point. You know, the original ones are okay. But I think when you like somebody's work, you want to get it a little bit closer to the one that you like, in this case hopefully me, and you just get it a little bit nicer. Okay, so this is the more like clickety click until you see what you like kind of stuff. I really love this one. It's yep, a slight blast from the past, just gives it a little bit more of a toned down look. And I want some lens flares up there. And this is cool about Alien Skin. It's actually the only software where I really use those. You can find them under the overlays. And they're actually in the overlays under lighting effects. And lighting effects you have a lot. And what I really like is the lens flares. They're actually called sun flares in Alien Skin. Now you can see that it's on the wrong side. So let's just change that over. There we go. It's a little bit too obvious. Let's tone the effect down a little bit. And let's zoom it a little bit so we can change the beams. There we go, really like this. Let me see if there's a better one. No. No. Oh, this one is cool. Yep, love this one. This gives me a little bit of a washed out effect. Really like that. And by zooming again you can change the outcome. This must be a little bit hard to follow online because the computer is lagging like 3 seconds. But bear with me. Okay, it's now doing its whole magic. And there we go. So that's shot one. Very quickly, very easy. Oops. Do a layer, flatten image, and save. That's part one. Do you want to save? Yes, of course I want to save. Go back to capture one. And now we're going to do this one. Now this one has more face in it, so we're going to retouch that one. So I'm going to go to Photoshop. And for face retouching, I always use one filter, and this is the magic filter. A lot of professionals will tell you they won't use it, but they do. It's image normal portraiture. The cool thing about image normal portraiture is it actually does everything automatically. So if you're lazy, like me, yep, you can just do it automatically. Okay, let's do it magic. It's now at 100%. Okay, the only thing you have, oh, that's a little bit overboard. And as you can see, this is way overboard. The skin starts to glow a little bit, and she isn't Barbie as far as I know. So let's tone it down and let's go to medium. And you can actually sample some points in the picture. Just wait until it's at 100% again. This looks pretty good. Of course, we're going to change this. Just press OK. In between, we got some cool remarks. Like, beautiful shots from a beautiful woman, Frank. Oh, thank you. Octabox for product shoot. Why not? Thank you, Chardo. No problem, Frank. We see the video and this is a free workshop, so some delays, no problem. Thank you so very much for understanding that, Chardo. And we are working on it because we want top quality. So we will change this. Okay, layer mask, hide all. Now, why hide all? Because I don't want the effect everywhere. And when you do a before and after, you can see that it's also in the wall. And we don't want the effect in the wall because that looks terrible. Now we see a black piece of paper. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a brush with white paint. I'm going to go to 100% and I'm going to paint the effect in only in the areas where I want it. And I'm going to do that at 100% first. And again, I know some of you guys are sitting there and going like, oh my, is he really using a filter? Why not high frequency separation? Why not do it like dodge and burn? Very simple, guys, because it's time. And these shots will end up on internet or in the model's portfolio. We're shooting with a 42 megapixel camera. If we print this out on A4 or for you American guys on letter, which you can actually print at a local Staples, if you didn't know that. That's an inside joke. And at that point, you won't see that we didn't do dodge and burn. It will look great. Now, if I do this for a client, for a billboard or whatever, or a big poster, then I will dive in. And if the budget is there, we will do a dodge and burn. But it will take me a long time. And you guys don't want to see that because it will be a 2-hour digital classroom dodging and burning. Okay, final part is actually take out some of the parts. So we're going to go into the healing brush and we're going to start doing some final touch-ups. Okay, the only thing I now have to do later on after the touch-ups, so let's first do those touch-ups, is actually make it a little bit more pop. So when I look at this shot, it's okay, but I like it to be a little bit more pop. So what can we do? Well, this is something where actually Nick comes in. And Nick, again, is really great for tonal contrast. And of course, in this case, I can also use clarity from the past, but let's go to Nick, tonal contrast, because it's easier. It's very, very quick to set up. I want a little bit more detail in shadows. There we go. I want the saturation a little bit more down, so we're going to do this step by step. And now you can see a before and after. You can really see that those stones really get a nice pop. The weird thing is, because I know my desktop is lagging, I'm actually stopping. And I'm making it worse, I think, now, because it's really difficult to retouch that way. Okay, it's now doing the image. And of course, you don't want it in the skin. Okay, on my computer, it's now done. Let me see on the desktop there. So what I'm going to do, I think the desktop is lagging a lot. Oh, there we go. Okay, so what I'm now going to do is I'm going to create a layer mask again. So we're going to go to layer mask, and we're going to do a hide all. No, sorry, a reveal all. Now, instead of a black piece of paper, you see a white piece of paper. Going to take a brush, and we're going to paint on that with black, and we're going to go over all the areas where we don't want it. So take the black brush and actually go over the skin of the model. And a really, really cool trick for this, if you want to see your retouching, or in other words, your masking, is actually something that a good friend of mine told me. Ineke, thank you so very much for this tip. And it's if you use your backspace, and you can actually see what you're doing on your mask. And this is a really, really cool trick. And of course, when you press the backspace again, you are back in normal mode. You have to be aware that when you use that backspace, you have to change the color of your brush. As you can see, it switches from black to white, and now I need something else. And the cool thing about this is, and this is not a joke, if black doesn't work, just use white. There are only two options. So don't try to understand it, just do it. Okay. Let's take some areas out there. And there we go. Cool. Okay, let's make this a little bit more interesting by making it a little bit more fashionable. Let's go to a new layer. And you have to remember that in Photoshop, all images, and in real life too, all images depend on 3 colors, red, green and blue. Now in Photoshop, there's also a channel mixer, and those channels are also shown red, green and blue. And here we have the red channel, the green channel, and the blue channel. And again, you guys see it a little bit later. There we go. It seems like it's fluctuating, the lag. Okay, so here we go. So we have red, green and blue. In this case, I want to do the red, and I'm going to do Control A and C from copy. Oh, that's weird. Okay, go to layers and go, of course, to your background. Control A, Control C in your channels. So take red, Control A, Control C. Sorry, guys. Go to your layers and just copy it on top. There we go. Now the only thing I have to do is go into soft light and just mix those two together, and you will get a really nice, more advanced look. So this is without and with. Let's do it somewhere in the middle. Now if you think, ooh, the face doesn't look right, no problem at all. Go to layer, layer mask, reveal all, and just paint the face back in the way that you like it. Because I think on the face it didn't look really nice. On the arm, okay. On the face, no. Okay. Now let's bump the reds a little bit. And let's show you the difference between those two. So let's go into image, adjustments. Let's go into hue and saturation. And now what you do is you just go to the red channel and you click somewhere in the dress. And you just raise the saturation and lower the lightness. Raise the saturation. And there you go. And lower the lightness. Because the lower the lightness, the more saturated the color will be. Or the deeper red it will be. I really, really like this. Press OK. Now, of course, the face is way, way too red. So do the same thing again. Layer, layer mask. In this case, reveal all. Take your brush and paint the face back again. Of course, you can save your masks. But I didn't know I was going to do this. And it goes pretty fast, as you can see. Maybe set this on a little bit more. There we go. Really like this. Okay, cool. And again, I absolutely love tinting my images. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into alien skin exposure. And I'm going to choose my poison for my image coloring. Okay, we do have some questions again. So I'm going to switch over to the questions in a moment. Now, it would be cool if I would make it black and white, right? I did all those things with reds. Now I'm not going to do that. Okay. Oh, really like this. The cool thing about alien skin is you can lock one by clicking it and then just go over the other ones with your pointer and it will actually show you those and you can compare it very quickly to the original one. I actually like this one better. No, it's too dark. Okay, let's go back again. I think it was that one. Yep. Gone too far. Yep, you can say that again. Let me see. Okay, I think I actually like the one that I selected the best. Yep. And of course, you can always change some stuff. Like if you want a little bit more highlights, just use curves. If you say, you know what, I really like more saturation in the reds, you can do that too, or less, a little bit more yellow, for example. That's the cool thing about what I like about alien skin exposure. It's so incredibly versatile. You can change the whole look of your shots even after you took them, or after you tinted them. So you have a lot of extra space there to play with. Nice. Okay, do an apply. And you see it before. And often the change in tinting is very subtle, but it saves you so much in looks that I really love this. There we go. So before, after, really great. layer, flatten image, and close. So we did 2 shots of these, and we're going to do the next setup with Sanne, and then we're actually also going to do the photo critique, which I promised you guys. And let's go back to Capture One. Okay, let's do some questions in between because we got a lot of questions in. And I'm going to do them very fast. Okay. Why Capture One and not Adobe Lightroom? Yeah, very simple. Tethering wise, Capture One rules. Capture One is one of the best solutions on the market for tethering. It never stops, it never fails. And when it fails, it's always the fault somewhere else. So yes, that's why Capture One. Lightroom is a slightly different story. Lightroom is cool and I love Lightroom. The thing is with Lightroom, it's where my images live. So for raw conversion, I actually prefer DxO Optics or Capture One, and Lightroom is the hub where all my images live. So I drive on Lightroom. I can't live without Lightroom. But Capture One and DxO are just a little bit better, I think, in raw conversion and tethering. Especially Capture One tethering is absolutely awesome. Great one, Frank, do you have a solution when red bleeds? And sometimes I lose information in red. Yeah, red can be a real problem. Just make sure that it doesn't bleed. Calibrate your monitor, make sure you have a proper monitor so you can see everything, and make sure that it doesn't bleed. And the thing is, if you use a channel mixer, you can actually only lower the reds and leave all the other colors intact. And you can also use the vibrancy slider for that. So yeah, really easy solution for that. Let me see, questions on YouTube. I'm gonna go very quickly. In the latest version of Capture One, you can open files straight to Photoshop. Have you tried it yet? Yes, you can do edit in Photoshop, but that's been there for a long time. And you can now even do it differently, but you know what? I've set up the recipes and I'm a beast of, how do you call that? Beast of nature? No? I mean that if I know something, I will keep using it, as long as it's not worse. Frank, what's the difference between a flash bender and a carry phone thing? I want to use something for my weddings. I'm not going to answer that for you because that's going to be something where I'm negative about another product, and I don't want to be negative about another product. Hello from Germany. Hello, Germany. Guten Tag. Do the preset also work in Alien Skin Exposure X? Yes, I give you 2 different versions, Alien Skin Exposure X and X2, but really upgrade to X2 because there's some cool stuff in there that's weird. That's not weird, I'm reading the next question. That's actually pretty much worth the upgrade. Wow, that's weird. I have a 44 centimeter beauty disc and I like it, but I had to buy a 65 centimeter one just because everybody uses those bigger ones. Frank thinks differently, that's cool. Nick, Frank always thinks differently. I will tell you why. A lot of people love that flat lighting, that broad light source. I am one who doesn't like it. I really like that aimed lighting. So 46, and by the way, the difference between 46 and 56 is not that much. It's silver and white, that's a big difference. But overall, just use what you like. Don't let anybody tell you, not even Frank. Don't let anybody tell you what you have to buy. Try it out. If you like it, it's cool. If you don't like it, get the other one. Joel Grimes always says bigger is better. I know somebody else who always said it, but I can't go into that now because there's also children watching. I'm sorry, guys. Anyway, so yeah. Did you say backspace? I think you meant backslash, or is that a window thing? Oh no, of course, backslash. I'm very sorry. Don't use backspace because that will delete the layer, which also helps with retouching, but that's not the thing. Everybody's laughing at me now. I'm so sorry. That's the problem of being live. Normally I can cut that stuff out. Now I can't. Oh my God. Frank, I'm back again. Hello, Ineke. I just shared your tip. Okay, Paul, if I convert my pictures to JPEG, most of the time I don't think they look as good as in Photoshop, especially in the reds, and most of the time too dark. I always have to correct for that. Yes, don't use JPEG unless you want to share it on the web. If you want to share it on the web, and if you're on a Mac, and if you're on a PC, first do a conversion from Adobe RGB or ProPhoto RGB, depending on which color space you're in, to sRGB. Then convert it to 8 bits and then save it. So first the color space, then from 16 to 8 bits, and then save it. The reason they look too dark is probably because you save your JPEGs as Adobe RGB and you're looking at them in a color corrected space. So for example, Internet Explorer or Chrome on the, I don't know if Chrome is color corrected on the PC, so don't take my word for that one. But you're looking at it in a non-color corrected space. And I found out that on the Mac, everything is pretty much color corrected, but on the PC, it's a mess. Literally, it's a mess. And I just use photos from Windows, or I use Lightroom or KelbyOne, and those are color corrected. Now, if I have an sRGB, they look great. So I think you're probably trying to look an Adobe RGB JPEG in a non-color space, and at that point it will look too dark, it will look a little bit muddy, a little bit brownish, not good. Okay, with the new laptop, do you see a difference with pictures coming in when you shoot tethered now? I can tell you one thing about the Dell, and that's the only thing I'm going to tell you about the Dell today. It's what the MacBook Pro should have been. And okay, it runs Windows, I know, but it's an amazing piece of gear. It's blazingly fast. The screen is absolutely gorgeous. I can put it in a 13-inch MacBook Pro case, while it's a 15.6-inch screen. It has all the ports, and it's just amazing, and it's blazingly fast. So yes, compared to the MacBook Pro I had, no difference at all, because we're talking milliseconds. But everything else, like editing video every day, the vlog, it's way faster on the Dell. Rendering, Final Cut Pro is still very fast, but the new DaVinci Resolve, if you haven't tried it out yet, the beta version 2 released today, that's voodoo. That's really, really nice. Even on the Mac, by the way. No problem, I tried to Gary Fong and trashed it after it. Haha. I'm not gonna respond to that one. Try the Frank Doorhof Flash Bender and don't trash that one. Okay, let me see, no more questions. Frank, what's the best portable lights? The best portable lights is the portable lights that you have with you. That can be a Lume Cube, your iPhone, or what I like personally is the Quadras from Alengrom or the Indras from Photix. The cool thing about the Indras, by the way, is that you can use them on location on a battery and in the studio without the battery. They rock. So Indras from Photix, absolutely amazing, or the Quadras from Alengrom, also great, or the B1s or B2s from Profoto, but I don't shoot Profoto personally. I shoot it on workshops and whatever, and I really like it, but I'm still an Alengrom shooter and a Photix shooter, and I don't think that's gonna change very soon, I hope. Okay, I wanna show you something else, and then we're gonna set up for the second set, and that's gonna be very interesting, so make sure you stay here. Hey guys, welcome to KelbyOne. My name is Frank Doorhof, and we did an awesome class on working on location. Now, working on location is not just dragging your strobes on location and just winging it. It's planning, it's looking for the right angles, maximizing your scene, making sure you have converting verticals, leaning lines, lighting, everything is important. So we went to some beautiful locations, including Amsterdam. So check out my class on KelbyOne on shooting models on location.
Maar nog steeds leuk dat hij het zegt natuurlijk.
Hey guys, and welcome in our studio in Emmeloord, the Netherlands. My name is Frank Doorhof and I'm a fashion celebrity photographer, but I'm mostly focused on teaching workshops. Now, one of the most important things I always stress to my attendees in the workshops, color. Make sure you use calibrated workflows and make sure that your monitor is correctly calibrated to what you retouch or what you photograph. Because in all honesty, if you shoot something in the studio or on location, you want those colors to appear exactly the same on your monitor, right? Now let's take a look at my setup. We have the Wacom Cintiq 27-inch. Love retouching on that one. And we have the new BenQ SW320. And that's a very special monitor. Now, why is it a special monitor? It's a 4K monitor. That means it has a very, very high resolution. It's also Adobe RGB. And you get this really cool hood with it. Now, why is that important? Because it takes out light that falls on your screen, especially in darker areas, but also in lighter areas. If you have light hitting your screen, you can't do a proper adjustment because, well, in the shadows, light will actually make sure that you don't see those shadows. And of course, you want to make sure that you do see those shadows because that's where your detail is. Another thing that's very important, and that has, well, all professional BenQ monitors have this, is hardware calibration. Now, calibration is important. You put a little device in front of your monitor and it meters different squares. For example, red, green, blue, cyan, magenta, but it also meters your grayscale, so black to white. And that color analyzer creates a profile called an ICC profile. That profile is handled by the computer and makes sure that the reds are as close to perfect as possible. But this monitor, like many other professional monitors, support hardware calibration. So that means you don't use the profiling all based on software in the computer. You still have an ICC profile, of course, but you actually do most of the calibration inside the monitor. And that gives you way better gradients. So in other words, the small differences between colors, the very nice subtle nuances, are much better presented on a monitor that has hardware calibration. Okay, so 4K. Is it just the rage? Do you need 4K? Do you need 5K? Do you need 8K, 16K? Do you need it? Yes and no. If you're a photographer, it can be a problem. And you know me, guys, I'm always honest to you guys. And I'm not somebody who will just say, oh, it's a great monitor. It is, but I'm also want to teach you guys a little bit about, do you need it? So if you're just doing photography, do realize that if you have a 4K monitor, and before that you had a full HD monitor, on a full HD monitor, if you zoom in on your images, you will go like this. Vroom. So you will see only the eye of the model. If you do that on a 4K monitor, you will zoom in a little bit less because there's way more resolution. That can be a problem. However, the scaling in modern monitors is really good. So that means that you can actually not zoom into 100%, but for example to 200%. So that's not really a problem. The really cool thing is when you do video editing, because nowadays full HD is no problem at all. If you use Resolve, Premiere or Final Cut X, you can just watch the full resolution preview on that preview area in your editing software. You can still see all your tools and you have plenty of room to move around, so no more scaling artifacts. That's great. If you edit 4K video, you can't of course see it full screen, but you have way less scaling artifacts for the very simple reason you're watching it on a much higher resolution screen. And then, if you look at the monitor itself, the design, great. But it's not all about the design. What I want you guys to see is actually the desktop. And you see that some icons are appearing a little bit small. Make sure that in your operating system you now find the zooming options. In Windows you have a zooming option, in Mac you have a zooming option. Make sure you use those because otherwise the letters will be really small. And this is one of the problems of 4K displays. Because you have this insane resolution on a smaller display like a 32-inch, some manufacturers of plugins are still a little bit slow. So that means that some plugins, if you open them up in Photoshop, will appear incredibly small. So tiny, tiny letters. So you really have to look, make sure you have great glasses. Is that the fault of the monitor? No, of course not. It's the fault of the manufacturer of the plugins. And luckily, a lot of those guys are already working on plugin updates like Topaz, Alien Skin Exposure, Imagenomic Portraiture. They all have versions where you actually don't have those small letters anymore, but where you can scale the interface or the letters are adjusted to the high resolution displays. Overall, if you're in the market for a great monitor and you want to make sure that your colors are correct and that you don't have any problems with, for example, scaling artifacts when you're doing video editing, make sure you check out the BenQ monitors. We've been using them for quite some time now, and overall they never disappointed me. The thing that surprises me always with BenQ, and this is something that's why I'm one of their ambassadors, is price quality. You can spend a lot of money on monitors, but in the end you need performance. And performance is really easy measurable. you can just do a calibration, and after that you do the so-called proofing of that calibration. And then you get numbers, we call it DE numbers. And there you can see how perfect your monitor is. Why spend 3,000 euros for a monitor if you can do it with a lot less? Because the proof of the monitor is very simple in metering. And this monitor did it perfectly. So over time we will still have to see how it is with color uniformity and degradation of the monitor. But in all honesty, the BenQs never ever let me down. Great monitors. So check them out. I highly recommend them, especially if you're like me, very picky about your colors and love high resolution, because it's gorgeous. Thank you so very much for watching, guys, and see you next time. No. Okay, guys, and we're back. Sorry for the longer delay, but as you know, sometimes nature calls, and I don't mean that the trees called out, but something else. So, yes, I love to have everybody smiling in our studio. Okay, for the next setup, we're having a Lustolight background with some sort of door effect. And you can have those backgrounds in every single layout. So they call the urbex backgrounds, and of urban, whatever, something with and you can have them in different sizes, in different prints. Now the ones on the front, and you have something on the back. So let's turn it around very quickly. So on the back there's another print. So you can use these on location. They fold up really, really easy. And let's see what we can do with this. Now Sanne changed into something a little bit more daring. So Sanne, can you please come in the set? You look absolutely awesome. And I really have to stop saying awesome. It's like the best word ever, right? Okay, so I have to change something on the computer I see now, otherwise you guys can't see the picture in picture. So let me remove this. There we go. Okay, cool. And let me start out by just using one flash bender. So we're going to turn this one on. Now this one is in group A. Cool. And this one we're going to use later on. Okay. Now the cool thing about the flash benders, and this is something that I really like about it, you can really bend the light. Now I've showed it many times, I'm not going to show it again. But of course I'm going to show it again because I'm going to do it, but I mean I'm not going to pay a lot of attention to it. But normally with a bounce card you actually lose your light to the ceiling, and only this is getting back, so you only get a small amount of light bent back. By using this, I can now actually control that there's no spill light and it actually gets back to the model. But the coolest thing, I can also do it with the sides. So I really make sure that only the light that I want gets to the model. So I want some little light on the background, but I want everything on her beautiful face. So let's change this back. There we go. Okay, now of course we have to meter this light, right? But I don't know exactly how I want it yet. So I'm going to first take some test shots and to see if I really like it. And then of course I'm going to meter it, because the first shots are not really the shots that I want. I just want to make sure that I like the light quality. Okay. Let's up the output a little bit. There we go. Okay, look a little bit more towards the light. That's awesome. Okay, really, really like this. I like that there's a little bit of lens flare in the shot. That's intentional, by the way. And that's actually coming from the light that's hitting the lens. And that's one of the coolest things you can have in a shot, a little bit of lens flare. And a lot of people don't use lens flare anymore because they go like, yeah, but it's bad for your lens. No, it's not. It's actually pretty cool. Look at the 70s and 60s. They used a lot of lens flares. How do you get lens flares? Well, this lens is a little bit difficult because actually the lens is too good. Get a lens that's really cheap, like on eBay or whatever. Get the cheapest lens ever. And as soon as they see light, they go like, ooh, lens flare. So those lenses are absolutely great for that. The cheaper, the better. Okay, so I really like this setup. Maybe aim it a little bit higher to soften the light on my model. Because now, as you can see, the light fall off is pretty aggressive. So I want it a little bit higher. And of course now I have to meter the light. So I'm going to get the meter. Okay. Going to get this one and make sure that we use a test. And then meter it. 5.68. That's almost f8. It's 2/10 of an f-stop away from f8. Now, when I look at her forehead, that's a little bit hotter. So I'm actually going to shoot it on. Let's do f8. Because I metered below her chin. So f8 should be pretty cool. Okay. Look a little bit towards the light. You see that I'm also changing my angle now slightly. I want a little bit more of an aggressive look. There we go. So this is really dark, really moody. And the thing is, her eyes are a little bit too dark. So what I want her to do is really look straight up to the light. There we go. And center your eyes. That's nice. Okay. Now you can see that she gets more light in her eyes. And this is coaching your model. You have to tell her, where do you want her to look? Yeah. Pretty interesting. But it's not there yet. I need something a little bit more cool. And in cool, I mean blue, because blue is cool. Now, the first thing, however, is I want my colors correct. And the previous setup, you saw me going like, yeah, I'll tell you later on what's going on. The thing that I didn't shoot in the previous setup is one of the most important things. And it's vital to have that correct workflow, the correct continuity in your shots. And that's the color checker. Daisy, can you get me a color checker, please? Or Brian, or whoever. Thank you so very much. Okay. Ooh. Let's take the color checker. And by the way, about video editing, you know that the new Resolve also uses color checker passports for video. That's absolutely stunning. You can just shoot a color checker passport in your video. You go into Resolve, you select the color checker passport the way that you normally also do. Make sure that all the squares are lined correctly. And it will do the proper lighting and color and whatever. So also the color checker passport is now great for Resolve, or in other words, video editing. Okay, just hold it as close, yes, as flat as possible to the light. Make sure that you fill the frame. There we go. And that's all. Didn't hurt a bit, right? But this is one of the most important shots. Daisy? Wake up. There we go. Okay, shot one. Let's do it a little bit more. Okay, heads up. That's absolutely stunning. There we go. Love the eyes. Nice. I'm shooting from a slightly higher angle now down, because I like that more. The thing is, I still don't think that she has enough light in her eyes. It's still a little bit too darkish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower my light to make sure that I hit her eyes more. There we go. Do I have to remeter? Yes, of course, because we changed the light. So we're going to remeter. And this is a little bit tricky, because I have to hit the test button. 8.8. So that's f11. It's only 2/10 of an f-stop away from f11, and because I know the light is coming from above, f11 is pretty sure. And again, if you have troubles with this, get that light meter video. Okay, that's nice. Now we have the light in her face. It's a pretty tight setup. There we go. This is absolutely awesome. Okay, cool. Now that I've set this up and I really like it, let's start adding that gel. Now, gels are a little bit tricky. You can use ETGL, you can meter it, but in my essence, it's like cooking. You add it to the amount that you really like. So I'm not going to meter it. I never do. What I'm going to do, and this is again where the boom arms come in really handy. I'm going to aim it straight at my own camera. There we go. Now, if you look closely, you see that it's about the same distance from the model as it is in front. I don't want my model to be hit too much with the light. I want the light to hit the lens on full blast. Sorry guys, I want the light, Annelie, can I get something to drink? I want the light to hit the lens on full blast and the model just a little bit. So that's something we call feathering. Thank you, I'm not going to throw it. So by moving the light, for example here, I'm going to be hitting my model full blast and I'm not going to hit the lens that much. By doing this, I'm actually now on the same angle of my model. My model will get a hinge of blue. Not too much, just a little bit. And because the head is actually in a 90-degree angle, I can use zoom. Now if it's like this, zooming in most strobes won't work. I don't know why. And on this it does. So now I can also use that zoom function. So let's experiment a little bit with this. Now they're both on manual. And the back again, I don't know what I'm going to use. We're going to see. Not full power. Let's start up at 1/8, 1/8. So they're both on the same level. Okay. Let me sit down. There we go. I'm going to zoom in on my model. I really like this already. Chin down just a little bit, eyes towards me. Okay, look towards the light, that's better. Center your eyes. Nice. And as you can see, I'm getting a lot of light in my lens, but not more than enough. So let's go to full power. Yes, I love full power. Okay, look into the light a little bit. Center your eyes. Nice, love this, really nice and dark. Okay, I have to wait for the beep, otherwise the strobe won't go off, of course. And again, have to wait for the beep. I'm a little bit too fast. Sorry, girl. Okay, now I have both beeps. There we go. That's nice. Now I really get that nice glow. Okay, wait for the beeps. Okay, too fast. I think that back one is almost empty in batteries. I think that's why it's so slow. Normally it's a lot faster. Okay, let's try some from a higher angle up. Ooh. This is without the blue strobe. Let's wait for the beep. And that's it. Now, because I changed the angle, you see that we hardly see any of that lens flare. You see that it's very much angle dependent. And that's what you saw me doing with my iPhone. You saw me moving that around. And this is something you really have to master, because otherwise you go like, Frank showed it, but I don't see anything. That's true. Because for the very simple reason, you didn't use the angles correctly. Now what I'm going to do is, because they recycle way too slow, I'm actually going to go to ISO. Now let me do it differently. I'm now on F11. I'm going to go to 5.6. And I'm going to go, actually on my A, I'm going to go to 1/16 and 1/32. There we go. And on the other one, I also go 2 stops down. And I'm now getting the same ratio, but it should be easier for the strobes to recycle. Center your eyes. Nice. Okay, wait for the beeps. Note to myself, replace batteries before digital classroom. A little bit there. That's nice. Love this one. Have to make sure that I get the beeps. Absolutely awesome. Love this one. Now, the thing is, you now see the lens flare again. You also see the strobe. I'm going to show you in a moment very quickly how you can make that more awesome. And let me move this one a little bit away. And now what I want to do is I want to make sure that this one, the main light, gets a little bit less output. So you get more of a sense of underexposure, because if you underexpose a shot, it makes it more moody. So sometimes you have to expose the correct way, sometimes you have to underexpose it just a little bit. There we go. Okay. Look straight into the light source. Chin down just a little bit, nose a little bit towards me. Stop. This is cool. Okay, I'm going to move a little bit further away to zoom in a little bit more, because then I don't have the strobes in the picture and I can do a little bit more of her body. That's nice. And you can see that the lens flare is different again. Oh, I was too quick. There we go. Can you tilt your body that way? That's nice. Awesome. Two. 1, 2. Okay, now you can see my audio again. Okay, so that was the battery. And of course batteries can die. Okay, so now I've set this one up, and let me just use ETTL, because I don't want to take too much of you guys' time. So this one is mode off. C is going to be mode off. There we go. So I'm going to go to A, mode ETTL. Okay, let's just make some beauty portraits. Look a little bit up. That's absolutely stunning. That's nice. Nice. I'm going to move a little bit further away, so when I zoom in, I still have a little bit of the background. Change the angle just. There we go, that's better. It's a little bit hot on her face, so let's do an underexposure on the TTL. That's better. And as you can see, it's still very directional lighting, so you have that whole quality. But it's also a lot nicer than just having a big softbox. And if you really like that big softbox effect, that's no problem at all. You can simply take the flash bender and move it a little bit further away. Because at that point, you also create a slightly bigger light source. Okay, that's really cool. Okay, here you're going like, okay, I don't want shadows on the background. Okay, Sanne, can you take 2 steps forward? That's really nice. I'm gonna move the light here. This is the cool thing about ETTL. You don't really have to change anything. You just change your light source, and as long as you have that dialed in, it's gonna work the same thing. The only thing is the background, of course, is a little bit tight. So I'm gonna move here. Come on, there we go. Can you remove the luster light, please? Now, as soon as you start moving your model away from the luster light, you see that it's not wide enough. So we're going to remove it very quickly to show you guys what you can do with the flash bender as a beauty light. It still has that harsh quality, which I really like because of the soft silver. But it's very, very capable of being a little bit softer, as you can see here. Now, still have a slight shadow on the background. Let's remove that completely in a moment. Oh, wait for the beeps. There we go. Okay. So Sanne, take another step forward. And what I'm now going to do is I'm also going to change the angle slightly from the light. So I'm going to place the light here. And I'm going to change my own angle. And because I don't have any modeling lights at the moment, I have to figure this out manually. And now, if I'm correct, the shadow will be gone. Okay, wait for the beeps. Next time, guys, we're really going to replace those batteries before we start. This is a good tip for you guys too. If you have a photo shoot, make sure the batteries are fresh. And there we go. And do some more portrait work. Wait for the beep. There we go. And now you see that we don't have any background shadows anymore. Chin up just a little bit. Awesome. Great. Thank you so very much. Okay, let's see what we can do with these in Photoshop to show you how to create a nice glow. And then we're going to do the photo critique. Okay, so let's switch back to my camera. That's camera 4. And there we go. Okay, in between some real quick questions. Sound is back, audio is okay. No sound, top secret again. No guys, the batteries died. I'm now going through the images. Okay.
2 questions.
With the new, that's already answered. In camera raw, yes or no, you can change from Adobe RGB to sRGB and 8 bits and then save the files. Isn't that a faster way? No. Don't do it in camera raw because you go into Photoshop. So first, when you go into Photoshop, make sure you have a 16 bits TIFF file Adobe RGB. Do the retouching. Then convert from Adobe RGB to sRGB and then from 16 bits to 8 bits and then store as a JPEG. But first store the original as TIFF because you don't want to store JPEGs. Okay, where does the ICC profile stay? Do I set my monitor to the ICC profile, meaning calibration 1 and calibration 2 custom and is set in the color mode? Okay, that's about the BenQ monitor. It's very, very simple. Put it on the calibration software that's delivered with the monitor, so palette software. Just run that and leave the monitor on setting 1 or 2, that doesn't matter. But make sure you use palette software. And of course then you have to use an analyzer that's compatible with palette software. Okay. Okay, I switched to BenQ. I mean all 3 of my monitors and they're totally game chasing thanks to Frank. Yes, BenQs are absolutely adorable monitors, really great. I don't know if that's the right expression, but I really love them. If I use gels, I often also use barn doors on my strobe. How would you aim the gelled light in that case? If you use barn doors, you don't have to really pinpoint them away from the model. You can aim them a little bit more towards the model, but I would advise to don't use the barn doors because it's really steering the light at that point. And I know I like steering lights, but in this case, when you want that lens flare and a little bit of side lighting on your model, that's where you actually just use it without barn doors and just get that full blast in your lens and just a little bit on your model. Okay, that's where the sound was gone and we solved it pretty fast, I hope. Okay. If I do a half body shot and put the light further away, do you then also meter the light fall off? Yes, always. When you change lighting, you do new metering, unless you use ETTL. Okay, on the Facebook, Frank, can you tell us what kind of zoom you are setting on the flash with flash benders? As soon as you aim the strokes like this, you can't zoom anymore. As soon as you do this, you can zoom. So we always put them like this, and on the flash benders we have them up like this, so that's 24 mil. Okay, let's go very quickly to our main PC. And then let's see what we can do. Okay, I'm going to select the images pretty fast because I don't want to keep you guys longer and I also want to do the photo critique. So I want to show you the one where I can show the trick with the gel. Okay, first off the color checker. Now in Lightroom you can create a profile, in KelbyOne you can't. So what I do is I will just use color balance here. The reason I do this before I use the gel is very, very simple. If you have a blue gel, you want to make sure that that gel has exactly the quality that you want, right? So you always do the color checker without the gel attached. At that point, you know sure that if you add the gel, that gel will have exactly the same light quality or hue or tint the next time. It's the same with the sunset. You first shoot it, and then you do the rest. Okay, let me quickly go through these shots. Let me see which one I really like. This one I really like. There should be better ones. Okay, this one is really nice. Let's give that 5 stars. And again, my desktop is lagging slightly. Sorry for that, guys. We're gonna solve that next time. I'm gonna do a hard connection. But for now, just bear with me. I'm always looking for certain expressions, certain looks. And remember, you don't have to give the model 10 shots from one setup. If she has one, that's absolutely great. That's more than enough. I also like this one. So what I'm doing now is I'm giving several shots 5 stars. And later on, I will see them next to each other. And then I will actually determine which one I really like and which one I will actually choose. I also love this one somehow. I do find it a little bit a shame that one eye is actually covered, but I still love the shot a lot. Oh, this one is even better. There we go. That's why we choose different ones. Okay, let's go to the 5-star shots. This one is great. This one is a little bit less, so 0 stars. Don't like this one anymore. Still love that one. That one is even better with the arm. And there we go. Okay, so I want to show you very quickly how you create something cool from this. Okay, let's go into Photoshop. Sorry to keep you guys longer than normal, but I think it's interesting. Happy belated birthday. Thank you so very much. That was May 6th indeed. I'm now 46. Oh my. Okay, the first thing, of course, is you have to make sure that you know what content aware fill is. Now, the flash bender on top, I don't want there. So I'm going to select it with the lasso tool. And then I'm actually going to press delete. And what I'm doing now is, if you look closely, you can see that you have content aware color adaptation. And just leave it the way that it is. And now you can see that it really takes care of everything. So now it's gone. Looks pretty damn close. Yep. Really happy with this. Okay, so let's go to the healing brush and let's go through the skin again. And because I'm using an oval, it looks really nice after retouching. With a round one, you can actually see that you retouched. With an oval one, it's very, very top secret almost, like somebody said in the chat. There we go. And don't make it too soft, because it is harsh light. And you don't want a Barbie doll in harsh light. It doesn't make any sense at all. And people will immediately pick it up as, that's not right. Okay, cool. Now this one. I promised you to show you a nice solution for that. I will show you two. The first one is, of course, you can make a duplicate layer and use your healing brush and go around the sides and just feather it. Okay, this already looks way better. No, that doesn't look better. Sorry, guys. There we go. This already looks better. Okay, but I don't want to do it that way. So, okay, so this one I'm going to delete. I'm going to create a new empty layer. So I'm going to do new layer. Make it empty. Take a brush. Sample somewhere in the whites here. And what you're going to do is you make your brush really big. And you're just going to feather it like this. This is better because now you make the light source bigger. Okay, that's step one. Do a new layer. now you're going to sample in the blue. Let me show this one. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to actually create a sort of a round lighting effect. There you go. This doesn't look right, of course. Now what you do is filter. And you're going to blur this. And you're going to blur it a lot. And I mean, what's the maximum setting? Go for the maximum setting. There we go. Now, a lot of people ask me, like, why does the center of a strobe always burn out? Well, very simple. It's 100% power, so it should be pure white, as you can see here. Now, I'm creating more of a flare or a foggy effect. So I'm going to turn the effect a little bit down. Don't go to 0, and then build it up. There you go. Now do a layer mask. And a reveal all. Take black paint and just dip in the middle. There you go. And again. Until you like what you see. There we go. So now we went from an obvious small strobe to something more like, oh, that's a really cool light source. Do a flatten image and now go to the tinting. And that's about it. So we're going to finish this image and then we're going to do the critique. And I really like the dark and moody look here, but I think it's a little bit too much. I do like this. Ooh. Yep, really, really love this. Maybe add a little bit exposure. Protect the highlights just a little bit. Add a little bit of contrast. And then we have a before and after. Love it. And press apply. Nice. Cool. File close. Okay, let's go to the photo critique. Okay, so here we have some images. And this is the first one. Okay, let me switch over also to picture-in-picture for my camera. Okay. Now, one of the things that I love about photography is actually storytelling. And as you can see in this image, everything is there. You have the story, you have an amazing model that has the right expressions, he really looks into that bowl. The thing is with the bowl, what I would have done is create a little bit of a flare around the bowl. What I do like, oops, sorry guys. What I do like is the little bit of mist over here. So that's a really cool touch. But let's just open this image in Photoshop. And let's see what we can do with a little bit of a bowl effect. Okay, let me go into Photoshop, edit. Okay. So the trick I showed you before is actually what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go here and I'm going to create a duplicate layer, not a duplicate layer, sorry, new layer. And I'm going to do with a white brush around the bowl. But also make sure that you hit the inner side of the bowl. Now it's omnidirectional light, so that means that you have to go all the way, but on the sides a little bit bigger. And you just, like Bob Ross, you just create more and more the way that you like it. There we go. Now what you do is filter, and you just blur. And you blur it a lot. And now you tone it down. And there you go. So now you have a more atmospheric light bulb, as you can see here. So this is like a light bulb that's there. It's a light bulb. And now by adding just a little bit of extra, boom, there you go. Now, the other thing that I would do is maybe, but this is maybe, crop it just a little bit. And make it more like a film scene. So do this. And a little bit on the bottom. And I do hate that you then lose some of the cards. I'm going to show you the effect. And this is something that you can shoot for while you're doing this shot. Because if you have something like this that tells a story, the 235 or 185, the more wide shot, makes it a little bit more movie-like. And this is really something from a movie. So, yeah, I really love this. And I think it changes just enough to give it a little bit more bite and spice. Okay, so let me save this very quickly. Maybe Andries wants the saved version. Or not. Okay, let's look at the other images. They're actually from Sonja. Let's open them both up in Photoshop. Okay. And Sonja actually cheated a little bit. She sent in 2 images, but hey, it's Sonja. Okay, let me do fit on screen. If you send in images, please try to do high resolution. Okay, this is one. And I really like the whole concept. I really like the butterfly and everything else, but I don't know. This one I do like too, but there's one thing, and this is what I see with a lot of attendees of the workshop. Crop, crop, crop. I can't say it enough. Crop, 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 crop. Always crop your images. I'm going to show you why. Now, if you look here, it looks like she's almost dead centered. Now, look at the difference this makes. Now, I don't like it per se like this. So what I would actually do is make it even more. You see the repeating of the butterfly. How about this? And maybe not even like that. I'm totally destroying your image, Sonja, sorry. Oops. Probably even do it like this, even more, maybe even more aggressive from the top. And this is something like on location, I would immediately shoot it like this. There we go. So now you have something that's way more, it looks straight at you. It's like, whoo, instead of from the distance. So this one I like more because it's actually already more in that format. But I would actually also do here really aggressively like this. This is even better, but I think it's a little bit too focused in the middle. So what you could do to make that better is do this. But now I would like more space. Oh, I don't like that. One moment. There we go. But I want more space on that side. So let's just first take her logo out very quickly. There we go. Let's see how good content aware fill is. Ooh, magic. Okay, do a select, deselect. Oh, it doesn't look that nice. Okay, now what you can do is you can actually do an image and then do canvas size. I always like to have it on percentage and then do it, for example, a width of 120. Go that way, make it black. Now it's too black, of course, so what you can do is go into your rectangular marquee, select all the way up to the model. There we go. And now do edit, transform, scale. And now you just press the background here. Now in this case, black was okay, but I want to show you if you don't have the perfect black background or you have something else. And there you go. And I think this is way more engaging. This is way more like straight in your face. This is the way that I like to see the images. But again, it's very, very personal. But it's all in the crop, C-R-O-P. It's always that crop. And make sure you crop in camera. Because in this case, like you saw with the first image, there really isn't a way to make this nice. Because there was way too much clutter, or I don't know how to pronounce it, but you know what I mean, right? Let me see, step backward, Alt Control Z. That's what I was pressing. Okay, let's do it like this. There we go. So when you shoot it like this, there's not much space that you have left. Okay, the computer is lagging again, one moment. There we go. So there's not much space left. So if you crop this, you lose a lot of info. So make sure that as soon as you shoot it, and especially with this, with that strong storytelling, I would prefer to have it in a landscape shot, but watch this. Because this can also work in a portrait mode because you're shooting down. Now, let's make it a little bit more interesting in that way. Do this. And take the top down. There we go. And again, it's just very, very slight. Don't shoot too much. Okay, Anne-Week. Can you ask Anne-Week when the next one is and what I have to announce? Furthermore? Yeah, just ask her. She always has a sheet for me to do. Okay, let me see if there are any more questions. Otherwise, we're going to end this one. That was cool with the crop and lighting effect. Thank you so very much. I love to do that stuff. And let me see. Okay, let me see on YouTube if you have any stuff. I have questions about you doing a photo critique. I would love you to critique some about 3 or 4 of my photos, but how does that work? Do I have to pay for it? How do I send in photos? What we do is on our website, we also have a professional photo critique. That's 10 images. And what I do is I will give you a whole rundown of what I like on the images and a whole new retouch. And the retouch we actually sometimes record in video. If it's too long, I will actually record a video for you. And I don't know exactly what the costs are, I believe 100 euros, but it's a lot of work. So don't misjudge that like, okay, it's going to look at the images like I do now, but I'm going to do a whole retouch. I'm going to explain also why I would do stuff differently. So that's something that's worthwhile to investigate. So go to my website and I will give you the link very quickly to the website in case you don't know it yet. There you go, www.frankdoorhof.com, and that's the correct website. Okay, for now, that is it. I'm waiting for Anne-Week to bring me a sheet with some new info, but I don't see any other questions anymore. So I think we're going to leave it at this. The only thing I want to do is I want to thank BenQ and Rogue very, very much because they make this possible. Bye, Sanne. Bye-bye. Can you ask Anne-Week to bring the form now? Okay, so I want to thank BenQ and Rogue, especially because they make this stuff possible, guys. Without BenQ and Rogue, there would be no digital classroom. We are still looking for other companies to help us out with, of course, the vlog and other stuff. So if you're a company and you're watching and you want to support our channel, please do. And for other people, please subscribe to our channel. Make sure that you tell other people about it and leave those comments below. Tonight, we have another episode of Behind the Closed Doors, our daily vlog. And we are working on some really cool stuff for Quite Frankly. For now, I have to sign off. For the next digital classroom, just check our website. And we'll see you again next time. Bye, guys.